Hello, everyone. Good morning. It's morning where I am at the moment, and not sure what time it is where you are, but wherever you are, I hope you're doing well. We're so thrilled to have you join us here today for our first arts chat for the University of Georgia Performing Arts Center's fall virtual season. We're really excited to welcome our first guest, Lea Salonga, who will be joining us in just a moment. Many of you may have seen Lea in concert here in April 2019. Which seems like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? And she's graciously agreed to join us for a little while today to talk about her career and her experiences. So we look forward to our chat with her. This begins a series of conversations we'll be having throughout the fall. Our next one will take place on September 22nd with Robert Spano, the music director of the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra. We also look forward to visiting with Wynton Marsalis, Wu Han, and Amber Iman as the months unfold through December. So now on to the show. I'm pleased to introduce Lea Salonga, who is a Tony Award-winning actor and singer, international concert artist, and beloved Disney princess. Her Broadway credits include Miss Saigon, Les Miserables, Once on This Island, Allegiance, and Flower Drum Song. She has won the Tony, Olivier, Drama Desk, and many other awards, and has been nominated for a Grammy Award. Lea was the first Asian to play Eponine in the musical Les Miserables on Broadway, and returned to the show as Fantine in the 2006 revival. Many fans of all ages, of course, recognize Lea as the singing voice of Princess Jasmine from Disney's animated film Aladdin and Fa Mulan in Mulan and Mulan 2. For her portrayal of these beloved characters, the Walt Disney Company bestowed her with the honor of Disney Legend in 2011. Lea currently serves as a judge on the Philippines' hit version of The Voice, including The Voice Kids, and we are thrilled to welcome Lea Salonga to the broadcast today. Hello, Lea.
Hi, Jeff. Hi, good morning to you, and good wherever people are.
That's right. So good of you to be with us today. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
How are things going for you there in Manila right now? What's it like?
It's okay. I mean, I really haven't been out of my house much. I might have made one trip with a friend, but that didn't last very long, and I realized that there wasn't much in the outside world that I was really missing. I guess I like it at home. I've been baking a lot of sourdough. Which seems to be an activity that a lot of people have taken on. It's a challenge, and I think I understand why people are doing it, because it's not just about the baking, but it's about the whole process of it. And we can have another whole conversation about it, because it's just been a lot of fun, and learning how to do it is an exercise in patience. But with great effort also comes great reward. So that's something that a lot of students could probably learn as well. As far as other things, as far as work, obviously my industry has been hit. The performing arts industry all over the world has been hit really, really hard, which means that I've not sung on a stage with a live band in front of a large audience since March the 7th, I think. So this is, I think, the longest non-performing break I've had. But thankfully, I've not gone crazy. I found ways to keep myself busy, and I have done charity shows, fundraising shows from home, in order to try and raise funds for more vulnerable folks in society here in the Philippines. Yeah, it's been nice just being able to spend time with my family and being able to catch up on so many binge watches that I've not been able to, be on top of. But there's a lot of wonderful, television that I've found myself acquainted with, and I've been getting a lot of sleep. Which is great, because when I'm touring, it's something that's a little tough to come by, especially with getting up early in the morning to make a flight, and and just the pace of the business. It can be hard on the body, so it's nice to be able to not have to worry about what time to get up the next day, unless of course I have something going on like a panel discussion or an interview or a talk or something. But otherwise, I've been able to get some rest and a lot of sleep and catching up on a lot of things and virtual socializing with a bunch of friends. And being being a full-time math tutor for my daughter, who is just at her disposal whenever she needs me. It's just been really quiet and peaceful for the most part. I'm happy about that. So
Good.
that's how I've been. I mean, things aren't great as far as the pandemic goes. Our numbers will make me feel optimistic one minute and and sigh out of frustration the next. But I guess everywhere in the world that seems to be a thing. So I'm not alone in experiencing or expressing that.
Yeah. Now, were you on tour in the spring when this all kind of shut down started, or?
No,
Okay.
I was supposed to. Actually, the only performances I was able to do were a Valentine's guest appearance for the concert of a friend. So that was here in Manila. And then 2 nights in Dubai. After that, actually, I was supposed to head to Singapore for concerts and then begin my US tour in Honolulu and then head to the mainland and continue touring, hitting the West Coast, the East Coast, and Canada. But once all the lockdowns and travel restrictions were announced, then obviously I couldn't travel. I couldn't get out of Manila. I think there were travel restrictions just about everywhere, so nobody could go anywhere. So I was grounded, and it doesn't look like I'm going to be back on a stage until next year. And that's being optimistic as far as, say, the spring. But I guess Josh, my manager, my lovely, lovely manager, and I are just kind of looking at how things will go as far as a vaccine availability, as far as what each country where we plan to visit, as far as what those specific country situations might be. I mean, there are some places that have opened up a little bit. Theater has returned to Seoul, Korea. A really good friend of mine is doing Something Rotten out there, so I'm happy that he's working. I kind of want to punch him in the face and hug him at the same time, because of it, because I'm so envious. But yeah, I'm optimistic that eventually everybody in the world will kind of go back to being able to do the things that they love to do in the way that they're used to doing it, in the way that they're supposed to do things, like doing theater and concerts. It's nice to be able to sing and know that on the other side of your camera, there are many pairs of eyes watching you. However, it's a whole different experience when those pairs of eyes are in the same room.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's a different sort of energy energy exchange that happens under those circumstances. So that's what I'm missing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm missing that. So it would be nice to get back to it, but I don't want to rush. I'd much rather just, wait until it's absolutely safe before I put myself back out there.
Yeah, and do it the right way. I can tell you that as a presenter who brings both sides of that equation together, the artist and the audience, I miss it dearly as well. Like I just miss that electric feeling that happens.
That's exactly what it is.
Audience. Oh, I can't wait to get back to that. But and we will for sure.
We will. It's just a matter of very patiently waiting.
That's right.
Yeah, and in the meantime, I have lots of sourdough loaves to bake, which is perfectly fine. It really is. It surprises me when that it lets me. It's like it's very immediate feedback. If I do something wrong, then I don't get a rise, and it kind of gets flat. But when I do something right, I am rewarded with a beautifully shaped loaf with caramel brown color and a really crispy crust and a very chewy crumb. And then, and when I bite into it, I'm like, This is the work of my hands. And
Right.
it makes me so happy.
Now, I want to switch gears a little bit and
Yeah.
talk about what the theater industry is like in Manila. Because I think a lot of us in America we don't realize that there's quite a robust
Yeah.
tradition of musical theater, especially in Asia.
Yeah.
And
South Korea and in Manila, for sure. For sure.
and do you have commercial theater, or is it the
It's
equivalent of
commercial.
like nonprofit theater? Or
Yeah, I think there's both.
okay,
I think that there is both. There is definitely experimental theater. There's commercial theater. I work mostly with a company called Atlantis. It's the company that produced Sweeney Todd here in Manila. Um, oh my gosh, I realized that my brother's birthday is coming up, and that's when we opened Sweeney here last year, and it was quite the experience. It's I think one of the most enjoyable experiences I've ever had doing a musical, because the material is a challenge and a delight.
Mhm.
And Sondheim offers that in a lot of his shows anyway. So I think it was something that all of us in the company, our director Bobby Garcia included, were just waiting to, sink our teeth into. And it was just such a gratifying, fulfilling experience to do it. But yeah, back to your question, there is quite a robust theater scene here in this part of the world, that a lot of people out west might not be familiar with or have any idea of. I've been doing musical theater since I was 7, and this is a professional company that I did it with. It wasn't like community theater. It was an actual professional theater company at the cultural center of the Philippines with a huge orchestra, and it was a pretty big deal. And I think doing theater here seems to have now become something where you can actually make a living if you do it consistently enough. There are people who do it full time, and they are also talented and enjoyable to watch on stage. They work with a lot of actors work with multiple theater companies on different shows, whether it's original material or licensed from the States. And there are huge hit shows here that are kind of like jukebox musicals, using popular music from popular bands or artists homegrown, and then utilized to create a narrative. And some of them enjoy 2 or 3 or 4 runs, and that does not normally happen here. Normally you do a run of a few weeks and that's it, bye-bye. But there have been a couple of shows that really caught the attention of the public and became beloved pieces. And there was one show called Rock of Ages, which is not Rock of Ages. That's a whole different show. This is a whole different one. And I saw it maybe 2 or 3 times and thought it was one of the best theatrical experiences I ever had as a member of the audience. And it was something I braved the traffic for because it was worth it. It was absolutely worth going. And I just remember having the most fun, and how the musical direction was incredible. It was definitely the cleanest and tightest singing I've heard in a company. And I'm like, are there backing tracks? Is there something here that I just don't know? And apparently there's nothing of the kind. And everyone was really singing their throats out. And it was a story that was relatable. And it was one that was funny and tragic and made you laugh 1 minute and cry the next. It was just an amazing piece of theater.
Wow.
And it gets produced, I think, once a year. I think it gets restaged. And it's just such a fan favorite, but also so well written. It's a great piece. Great book. The music's fantastic. The acting and the performances are all just nuts. And I'm like, why can't this just run consistently in a space and never close? Because it's just doing so well. But I guess just doesn't happen here.
Yeah.
But I'll take it however I can. I guess.
Right. Well, now back to Sweeney Todd. So when you did that production, was it performed in English or
Yeah.
was it? It was.
And we
Okay.
had the British accents.
Okay.
Yeah, so we did it. We didn't have to translate. We didn't have to adapt anything. English is very widely spoken here, so that was not an issue.
Okay.
It was just, but getting the diction just right, that's the challenge.
Uh-huh.
That's a challenge. But we did have an actual British person who was our dialect coach, who actually is Cockney, but he's lived in the Philippines now for a while, and he was also in the show. He played the owner of Fogg's Asylum. He was also in the ensemble, and just a lovely, lovely human being, and a great dialect coach. So he was, I don't know how he was able to stay on top of all of us, probably butchering the English language as he knew it, and also on top of what he needed to do as an actor in the show. I have only the highest amount of respect for what he was able to do. And he's a really fantastic actor and also a wonderful director. But yeah, so we did everything as written.
I have a photo I want to show. I want to pull up of you as I love it. I just love this photo, and I wish I could have seen the production.
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
Yeah, Josh came out to see it. He literally stayed in Manila for literally 2 or 3 days. And he loved production. He thought it was great. Yeah. And I feel like I'm not quite done with her yet. So if there's an opportunity to play that role again, I'll take it.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's so much fun. It was just so much fun.
That's great.
Oh my gosh. I really had a great time.
Now I want to switch to talking about Mulan a little, because of course that's back in the news.
It's
New
back.
film. Have you seen the new film yet? Okay.
Of course I have. And here's the funny part. I haven't even seen the live action Aladdin yet.
Oh.
Which is interesting, because you'd think that would be the one I'd want to see, because that was the first princess I sang for. But I really wanted to see Mulan. It was important to me because I have a daughter who is, she's growing up in a society where she's not in the minority. So everywhere around her are people that look like her. But it still says something when a major film company, makes a live action film about something like this. It was a big deal when it was animated, but now that you have actual live flesh and blood people portraying these roles, it feels somehow, it just feels more real, because, and also for me, I knew a couple of the people who were up on screen.
Mm-hmm.
So these are people I would consider my friends. So I would find myself yanked out of the action once in a while, because I knew people in it.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, I would be reduced, though, to a sobbing mess the minute, and this is not really a spoiler, the minute you'd hear reflection in the scoring. I'd just be like, oh my God, it's there. And I was just gone. And you hear it a lot. You actually hear it more in this incarnation of Mulan than you ever did in the animated feature.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, oh, this is karmic retribution, because originally it was a much longer song, then they had to cut it down.
Oh.
But for this, there was like so much more of it. I'm like, yes, finally.
It gets its due.
Finally, it gets its due with this version. And I'm like, yeah, you won't be able to unhear that song now.
Well, I always love it when you sing that song in your concerts.
you.
Just
I love
so
singing it.
beautiful. It's a beautiful song.
you.
Now, you often tell a story. For those of you at home, I've had the great fortune of presenting Lea in concert numerous times, in Georgia, in Utah, and even in Manila. And you often tell a story about how you did your voice work, and you weren't able to meet everyone who also did voice work in the film.
It's quite isolating doing those movies, because you don't get to you don't get to read or with the singing. I mean, the only person that I was able to work with on Aladdin, for example, was Brad King. We did our parts together. We sang with the orchestra on the same day. We recorded our bits. You know, we were in isolation booths, but we were in the same place, so we could, you know, kind of work off of one another. For Mulan, it was just me, and whenever I would get called into the studio to do, say, one line out of this song or another line out of that song the following year, it's just isolating because you don't get to work off of anybody, and it can be lonely. But at the same time, you understand that that's just the nature of the beast. And I didn't meet Ming Na and BD Wong or anybody that worked on Mulan until I think we did like a press junket in Florida together. That was probably the first time I met everybody. And Ming had her daughter Michaela with her, who's now a full-grown adult living in New York City. So it makes me feel really old when I see her, because she grew really tall and beautiful. And I remember her being like 3 or 4, and it's like, okay, yeah, I guess we're all getting old. But yeah, so voice work can be a little bit peculiar in that respect, which is why I probably just have this affinity towards musical theater, because it's such a collaborative artwork where you really have to work and play with other people, and the amount of teamwork that goes into doing one of the musicals. It's a lot, but it's something that I think everyone that does it on a regular basis just feeds off of that and finds joy in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there is also another actor who sang in the film Mulan that I believe you have not met, and that's Donny Osmond, right?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't get to meet him.
No. And my brother and I grew up watching him and Marie and pretty much his entire family. If there was an Osmond Christmas special, we would be watching it. We watched their TV show. We listened to them on cassette, like all the time. So we grew up listening to their voices. So for me to have like that one line in Donny Osmond's song, I was like, yes,
you have arrived.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I have fortunately been able to arrange a special little treat for you, because
what is this?
You have always been so gracious to me, and we just happen to have a special guest here with us who's going to join us for a moment.
Okay.
Well, hello, Lea.
What the what?
How are you?
My
What's going on, baby?
I can't.
Let's get down to business.
Oh my gosh. I am so thrilled to see you. Oh my God.
How are you?
How huge of fans my brother and I were of you and your sister and your whole family. I'm like, I am dying, Jeff. You're just killing me.
A good surprise, I hope.
Yes, it is. Oh my goodness.
I remember the premiere at the Hollywood Bowl. Do you remember that?
I wasn't able to go.
Oh, you weren't.
I didn't go. Mick Nall went, but I didn't go.
Because I tried to rack my memory. Have I met Lea? Have we done anything together? And
No.
It's a blank. I don't think we've ever worked together.
No, we never have.
I mean,
so this is the first time I'm actually meeting you. And it has to be during a pandemic.
And we've had such a bond over the years.
I know.
Every time Lea, when I would have you in Provo, you'd be doing A Whole New World, and I thought, boy, that would be really awesome if Donny Osmond would come up from the audience to sing this song with you right now. And I never figured out how to make that work. But.
Let's go. Come on,
Oh, good Lord.
Hey, I have a question for you.
Sure.
When you watch Mulan, our Mulan, that is.
Okay, our Mulan.
What is your favorite part of the movie?
Oh my gosh. objectively speaking, I like the entire "I'll make a man out of you" sequence.
Oh, no,
And not just because you're here. No. I mean, yeah, it seems like lip service because I mean you're right here in front of me, but just watching how each of these soldiers go from inept and absolutely like useless to becoming these weapons and strong and watching Mulan in that whole entire sequence also, it's like, oh my gosh, she really is going to do this. And so it was such an integral part of the movie. So it's one of my
when you think
absolute favorite ones.
Apex of the movie when she climbed that pole.
Yes, I was. Oh my gosh, it makes me cry every time it happens.
She's right up there, and then the arrow.
Yeah, she throws it down to the ground right at his feet, and I'm like, yes! Ah, crazy! It's so good.
You know, it does sound like lip service, but when you saying reflection, when I heard that for the first time, because really I'd not seen the movie since until the premiere.
Right.
But the lyrics that David Zippel came up with, and the way you sang it was just inspiring. It was just.
Thank you. I'm dying, Jeff Martin. Johnny Osmond is telling me how great it was.
No, seriously. And do you remember Pam Coates, our producer?
Yes, I do.
She came to Vegas before we closed last year, and we started talking about that. She told me, actually, I heard this, and she validated it, that Mulan is a very important movie in the history of the Disney filmmaking process, because it is the movie that transitioned from hand-drawn cells to CGI.
Right.
That was the movie that made the transition. And do you remember the scene where all the Huns are coming over the hill?
Yes. Oh, that's right. They were talking about it during all the press junkets also.
That was the CGI part. And
yeah.
I thought, oh, this is unbelievable. I mean, technology has really expanded since
then.
then.
Yeah.
But
there are college kids who could probably do a lot of the same stuff that they were able to do on Mulan back in the day.
Yeah. But it really was a pathfinder. It was an amazing movie at the time. I mean,
it still is.
Yeah. And my grandkids, I've got to tell you a story, Lea. It's so funny.
Okay.
When the movie first came out,
right.
I was out mowing my lawn in the front yard, and there's this kid. His name is Tanner. In our neighborhood, he had seen the movie the night before, and he'd always call me Uncle Donnie. So he was walking home from school with his backpack on, and he says, "Uncle Donnie," and I shut the lawnmower off. I said, "Yeah, what's up?" He says, "I saw Mulan last night, and you were really good. You should do more of that. You'll be a star someday." But to be a part of that movie with you was probably one of the greatest things of my career.
Oh,
it goes forever. I mean, it lasts.
Yeah, the legacy is just, if we're not remembered for anything else, we'll be remembered for that. Yeah. It's and other work like that. There are generations of kids that just watch these things.
And you are the perfect Mulan, I have to say.
Oh, thank you.
Your voice was just so perfect for that character.
Thank you so much.
Anyway.
I may need a couple of days to get over this conversation.
We are definitely feeling the love.
My mom's gonna be tripping. I'm gonna tell her what just happened, and she's gonna die. And so is my brother. But yeah, we loved you guys growing up. Name it, television specials, Christmas whatevers. We would sing to all the cassettes that I think a lot of the cassettes that you guys released, and knew all of those lyrics by heart and just sang one song after another. And I think that because of that, like my brother is now he's my primary musical director, and we actually got to meet when we did that. We met an elder who said that he was. Jeff, do you remember that? One of the elders that night said that he was a musical director
in Manila.
Yeah, I can't remember his name though.
I can't remember either. Was he with the group there that we brought?
Yeah, I think he was based. Is he based here? He might be based here. So I don't know.
Worked with me?
Yeah, I said that he was a musical director for you. Unless I'm getting some of my facts mixed up. But yeah,
Stevens, last name Stevens,
Stevens.
maybe.
I don't know.
Crockett.
Oh, Denny Crockett.
Yes, that's right.
Denny
There it
Crockett
is.
was my my musical director, clear back in the Donnie and Marie days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Hey,
he
Lea.
was there. They were there at that time in Manila. So I did a concert with Leia at the Cultural Center of the Philippines in about 3 years ago, and
Okay.
Is it already 3 years ago?
yes, but
Seriously?
I know. But Terry, the Crockett's were there at that time serving, and they came to the concert.
Oh, that's cool. There's a an arena there in Manila. It's been a long time. Talk about time going by fast. I was there back in 2008. What's the name of that huge arena by the water? It's
Mall of Asia Arena, MOA Arena.
MOA.
Is that the one?
I think MOA. So
Okay.
I remember doing a concert there with my family in 2008. It was just before we started our stint in Las Vegas. And it was so cool to be back in Manila. I said, I got to ride a jeepney. I got to get in a jeepney. So
Were you able to?
I did. It was so much fun. I love Manila. I love it.
It's a lot of fun over here.
Yeah.
Well, when you're not locked down in a pandemic, but it's a lot of fun anyway.
I was listening to you earlier about the lockdown and how you're dealing with it. It's tough. It's really hit our industry really hard. But I'm an optimist, Lea. I think the vaccines are going to work, and I think by spring, you're going to watch our whole industry flourish like crazy because people.
I sure hope you're right.
They need entertainment, and everybody's just been so closed up, and they're just dying for entertainment. I think by spring, April, May, June, maybe of next summer, you watch what happens. Lea is going to be in concert. She's going to say, I want to go home. I want to cook that sourdough bread.
Oh, well, we can all hope so for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody on both sides of the stage, both on and watching in the audience. I think, people are wanting for things to come back. It's tough. It's tough when you're so used to being up on stage and entertaining people, and to have that yanked from you, so rudely yanked from you. It's tough.
We have we're very fortunate in the fact that we can get on stage and we can sing and we can perform for people, because when I was doing Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, my director told me something that changed my life. He said the theater is a place where people come to dream in public, and you're in charge of that dream. That's a huge responsibility.
It is.
But when you're singing, and as a singer, you can understand what I'm saying here. It's another language. And when you go and when you're speaking that language that everybody can understand, regardless of their background, it's such a euphoric feeling. It's so empowering that when you're singing that music and saying those lyrics and hitting those notes, it is just the most beautiful feeling in the world. And to have that yanked away from you is tragic. It's so difficult.
Yeah.
So
it's tough.
We're going to be back on stage. You
for sure.
Exactly.
For sure.
And you and I are going to sing a song together.
Yes.
And if I can be a part of arranging that, I will do that.
You're in charge.
Okay.
Jeffrey, you're in charge.
Great. Well, Captain Shang, Donnie Osmond, thank you so much for joining us today for a few minutes. Really appreciate it, your time.
My pleasure.
Oh, this was oh my gosh, this is lovely.
Great to see you.
This is beyond lovely.
All right. You take care, and I hope to see you very soon.
You will.
And in the meantime, send me some of that bread, will you?
I'll bring some from Manila if I hit Utah.
Oh
my God.
Well, that was fun. At least for me, it was fun. Yeah.
The 6-year-old me is dying.
Oh, actually, that's great.
Voice from what? Maybe from the age of 4, 5, 6, like early childhood. And if the Osmonds were, my brother would wear purple socks because he adored Donny Osmond so much. It was that kind of, it wasn't just admiration, it was worship.
Yeah.
So we grew up influenced by the music, and it was so wholesome, which is, I think, why my mom was okay with us listening to to all of the stuff that they would release because it was so family friendly also.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so to do Mulan and to do that one line in his song, I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm done. I'm good. My career is made. Thank you very much.
Well, and you've had that impact on generations as well. Like people around the world, they look to you as a great inspiration. I know I do. Like just the fact that I get to sit here and chat with you is a great privilege for me. And so you are part of the inspiration as well.
Oh, thank you. I think we try. We try. Well, for me, it's like it's not so much trying to put on a brave face so that when people look at you, it gives them that. It's admitting that this is difficult, but attempting to try and move forward anyway. But yeah, there are some days when I'm completely unmotivated to do anything, where the only thing that I'm motivated to do is turning on YouTube and watching BTS. I mean, there are days like that when and they're so good and they are all so cute. So it's you find your happy pills wherever you can get it. Sometimes the only thing I'm motivated to do is like, I have to bake today. And so that's it. And that's it. It was like, what time is it? It's noon. Okay. I can bake. I can do this. I will have 2 fresh loaves tomorrow. I mean, whatever. And everyone copes, during this pandemic. Everyone has a way of coping. For some people, it's watching shows on Netflix or Prime Video or Disney Plus, where Mulan is actually showing now. Some others find catharsis in writing. And there are a lot of people who are having a really, really tough time, whether it's because they're not able to bring home the bacon in order to feed their families. There's that. But there's also the other side of it. There are people who are, funnily enough, who are thriving and growing and glowing because they're just the types of people that thrive in solitude and seclusion. It's an interesting thing, this whole experience, and how differently it affects people. It's interesting. It's like the same thing is happening. It's the same thing, but everyone has a very specific response and reaction to it. There are people who are just dying because they're not able to be out with their friends, because that's what gives them the energy to keep moving. And there are those who are quite happy to be at home, going out for the essentials only, and finding themselves, I don't know, happier and calm because they don't have to be out with people. So it's and no one's experience is better or worse than someone else's.
Right. Well, as we have a few minutes before we wrap this up, but we want to take some time to inspire some students. So I've got 3 students who have prepared a question for you. So we're gonna first hear from Madeline Franz. She's a major in psychology, communication sciences, and disorders and theater at the University of Georgia. She's from Suwanee, Georgia. She's got a question for us. Hi, Madeline.
Hi, Madeline.
It is such a privilege to meet you, even though it's virtually. I'm so excited. But yeah, my question is about your Disney career. Just what was it like to voice 2 of the most influential Disney princesses, specifically 2 that make up a big portion of the diversity of the Disney princess line?
Right. Was Princess Jasmine the first person of color Disney princess? I'm trying to think, because who were the other princesses prior to her? There's Snow White, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Ariel, and Belle.
Pocahontas before or after?
Pocahontas was after. So Princess Jasmine is the first princess of color in that whole canon. And at the time, I wasn't thinking about the greater implications of it. I wasn't thinking, oh, this is going to be a huge deal because she's a person of color. I just thought, oh my gosh, I get to voice for a Disney princess. And that was that. But of course, the older I get and the more aware I then become of what it means, what the deeper meaning is. Also in light of relationships with, say, people from the Middle East. Especially, put that against what happened in 9/11. And it's like, would you look at Aladdin the same way pre 9/11 and then post 9/11? It kind of makes you think a little bit. So there are, and that she has remained beloved, and that the film has remained beloved. It says a lot. That I'd like to think that there are people who are smart enough to know that there is good and there is evil everywhere. And we should hold on to what is good as much as possible. And that I was able to lend a singing voice to two of these very strong-willed, incredibly beautiful and smart young women. It's beyond anything that I could have ever hoped for or hoped to do in one's career. It's like, even after I've been laid 6 feet underground, those two princesses are going to keep living on. There are generations of women of every color and shade who will look to them as examples of strength and resilience and intelligence and beauty. And it's nice to be able to be a part of a legacy like that. It's beyond the music at this point. They represent so much more than the pretty songs they get to sing.
That's fantastic.
It's a privilege, like, just to have someone like you as a role model. Like, my whole life, the first princess I ever wanted to be was Mulan. Like, that was my dream. I was like, she is so cool. She's going to save China. I want to save China, But yeah, so, like, you talking about Donny Osmond and how much of an impact he had, like, you, along with all of the other Disney princesses, like, you had such a big impact on my life. And I just wanted to thank you for that. But yeah.
Thank you for telling me that. Thank you.
That's
Thank you,
wonderful.
sir.
Thank you, Madeline, for joining us. Well,
she's adorable.
She is, yes. Okay, next we have Claire Holman, who's a theater and linguistics and Spanish major from Canton, Georgia. Claire, welcome.
Hi, Claire.
Hi. So I know you've talked about this a little bit, but my question is, like, given the current state of things with the pandemic and everything, what do you see the future of theater being? And how do you think that as students we can prepare for that?
Okay. One of my friends, who was our director in Sweeney Todd, he said something to the effect of, "Oh, there have been plagues that have come and gone, and theater has existed for thousands of years, and there are people who have said that it was always dying, but yet here it is. Look at that." So we believe, and I certainly believe, that theater in the way that we know it will be back. Whether the virus disappears on its own in the way that it kind of happened with SARS, or if there is a vaccine that will eventually, be approved and proven to be safe and proven to protect all of us from catching this, then we'll be able to do theater again. However, I think there will also need to probably be additional practices. There might have to be, maybe weekly testing before before every start of the rehearsal week. You might have to be testing people at performances. There might, people before going to the theater may have to get tested. I mean, there just might have to be these additions to whatever the routine already is for going to see a show or be in a show. I think we just all have to prepare our heads and our hearts for these possible changes and adopt them. It may mean wearing a mask when you're watching a show, which I think already is the practice in, say, a place like South Korea. So that, that shouldn't be that big of a deal. But yeah, I think that there are going to have to be some adaptations and additions to whatever our practices are. But none of that should ever, take away the joy out of doing this. And I'm confident that it will come back. I mean, if Donny Osmond says it's all going to come back, then it's going to come back. And I have to believe that it will, but that we also have to be prepared for whatever changes in practice we will need to take on, and for none of those changes to take away the joy out of doing this, because it really is a joyful profession. I mean, for me, it is. There are some people who may not like doing theater, in which case they shouldn't do it. But I'm just one of those people that really gets so much out of every show that I get to do. And it's not limited to the music. It's the people I get to work with. It's the camaraderie. It's just the motion of going to the theater every day and going through the stage door and signing your name. It's just that thing that I look forward to when I'm in the run of a show. It's just a high that I get from very little else. It's incredible. I think if there's any evidence in human history of stuff like this coming back, I mean, we can look to the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic, and well, look at that. Life goes on. Life comes back. People come back, and life continues. So, yeah.
It's a great message. We'll get there. Thanks, Claire.
Thanks, Claire.
All right, our last student is Caroline Caden. She's a theater major from Marietta, Georgia. Hi, Caroline.
Hey, how's it going?
Welcome. What's your question?
So I did some Wikipedia stalking, and I saw that you're an avid video gamer. So I was wondering what your favorite video game was to play during quarantine.
Okay. What did I play? I just finished Final Fantasy VII, the remake. It is so good. Oh my God. It is so beautiful. I mean, Final Fantasy VII already existed. And so I started playing that a little bit. And then I was able to get the remake. And the storyline is almost the same. But technology has advanced so much since that first came out in, I think, 1997. That it's like almost not the same game anymore. Obviously, it's breathtakingly beautiful. And then in general, I mean, even before the pandemic started, I was already playing a lot of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is one of my most favorite games to play. I mean, it kind of broke into the market before Thanksgiving of, I can't remember, 2019 maybe, or maybe even before that. I don't know. But I just remember playing it over and over again and not getting bored, because it's just such a well-made gaming experience. It's so good. It's just so good.
Awesome.
I believe you. Like we feel your passion. Great question. Thanks, Caroline.
Thank y'all. Have a good one.
Thank you. Well, before we sign off, I just wanted to bring up this new single that you have recently released to benefit the Actors Fund. It's called Dream Again, and it's on Spotify. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the song?
Okay. Dream Again is a global project because the people who were part of it all came from different parts of the world. So we have Australia, we have, I think, Nashville, New York City, Manila, Kuala Lumpur. I think I may have said Sydney, Australia already, but just in case I didn't, we have Sydney, Australia. So, and Los Angeles. So we have a whole group of people that were a part of this. It was written by Daniel Edmonds and Blair Bodine. It was Josh's idea. I'll give him credit because absolutely he deserves it. He was like, you know what, look, we should commission a song. My friend in Nashville can write the lyrics. Daniel can write the melody, and then we sing it and release it, and we benefit something like the Actors Fund. Are you game? And I'm like, absolutely, yes. So it happened. I can't say that it happened super quickly. I mean, we didn't rush. We didn't rush through the process. And we made sure we did everything right. We created a music video. I recorded it in my bathroom closet. Because I mean, the clothes were padding the microphone. So that was helpful. I did a couple of recording sessions to do it, learned how to use Logic to do the session properly. And then Josh asked my daughter to do the cover art for it, which she did. And so it was a project that was created with a lot of love and with wanting to put out something that was positive and hopefully inspiring to other people. And before we did the music video, we asked a bunch of folks on Instagram if, what they're dreaming of doing once the physical distancing part of our current life becomes a thing of the past. What would you want to do? So a whole bunch of people wrote in and shared what they're dreaming and hoping of doing once all of this is over. And some of the answers they gave were incredibly touching. And so now it's out, and you can get it however you stream your music. You can get it from iTunes or Spotify, and it's benefiting the Actors Fund.
Oh, fantastic. What a great way to give back right now when there are a lot of people who really need it.
Yeah,
So
and I'm hoping that it brightens people's days when they hear it.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. Well, this has been an absolute joy. I've loved chatting with you today and just catching up and hearing about everything that's going on with you, and of course sharing some surprise with you. So
that was really sweet. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
I'm dead, so dead.
You'll have a hard time sleeping tonight.
Yes, I think so.
Well, my very best to you and your family, and to everything that's going on. Can't wait to see you back on stage sometime soon.
Oh, me too. Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Well, that's it, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been so fun to have this conversation with Lea Salonga. I hope you'll join us on September 22nd when Robert Spano, the music director of the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra, will be answering the questions. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.